Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I'm Jason Oliver, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Chuck Moore. Hey, Chuck, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how are you? glad to be mentioned first for one.
Yeah. That's crazy how that happened. And then I also have Jeff Arbuckle. How are you doing, Jeff?
I am not happy about being second here. What happened here? What's going on? What is this? Something that's maybe a conversation that's lost in time?
It could be. It could possibly
right.
be that. Yes, indeed. And then I just looked at Chuck first this time.
There we go. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's good stuff.
Doing okay.
Are we still in Australia?
We're still in Australia. Okay. We're on our third week in Australia. We're
right in the middle of the month here.
Yeah, we're down on the southern coast. Not that you know it from driving a truck, but that's where we are. On the southern coast of Australia, trucking along on our way to Perth with 1981's Roadgames.
Yes.
So yeah.
This is an interesting one because this is the one that stars two Americans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Australian movies you kind of get used to, like, oh, there's like last week we had Henry Silva. He was in that.
And Hemmings. Outside of outside of Australia, I mean.
Right. You have like Hemmings, you have the Derek, that guy was played by a Brit as well. In Wake and Fright, you had a Brit, you know, and Donald Pleasance. So, you know, it's not unusual for Brits to be possibly even headlining an Australian movie. It is a little weird though that you have two Americans, one doing a very blue collar job.
Yeah.
And like you would not expect an American to be an Australian truckie.
Right. Yeah. And he's kind of a transient guy, right? He's not from Australia, obviously. He's not even necessarily been there all that long, but this is what he's doing. This is where his life has taken him. It's to driving a truck in Australia. And then, Jamie Lee Curtis is in this, but she's not in it that much. She's very important, but she's not in it that much. And she was cast, at the assistance of the U.S. distributors. They wanted another American in the movie.
Well, and it almost wasn't even going to be Stacy Keach.
Right.
It was going to be Sean Connery.
Yeah, he wanted.
So then you would have had a Scott. And oh my God, now we're all over the place. We're all over the map now.
I had no idea it was going to be Sean Connery. That would be interesting.
Yeah, he wanted too much money. That was the first choice. Yep.
I really like Stacy Keach in this movie.
Yes. I do too. I don't
he's
generally
great
like Stacy.
You don't?
I don't generally like him. No.
Huh.
He's a little bit cold in a lot of his performances. I think it's just really the characters he's played. It's not that I dislike Stacy Keach as a performer.
I remember.
Can I interject here?
But I really like him in this.
I know Keach is an older man. Like most of the roles I've seen him in are 90s, 2000 movies, not early movies.
Which is funny because I mostly know him from this era because, like I was just about to say, I remember him playing Mike Hammer on TV.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did play Mike Hammer
in the 80s. And then there was another movie that he was in. I'll look that up while somebody else says something.
Well, I've only kind of recently seen a lot of his work from this era recently. Like, The Ninth Configuration is another one that I just recently learned about and watched, and I really like him in as well. But yeah, exactly. I think I'm with you, Chuck. He's always kind of like been the old crotchety old man.
Yes.
Kind of like his character in American History X, right? It's like he's a great actor, but he's never been, in my estimation, I've never really seen him in a lot of likable roles, but he is exceedingly likable in this movie.
Hard agree on that.
The other one I was thinking of was Mountain of the Cannibal God.
Okay, I don't know.
Which was 79 in the time.
In fact, if it was Connery in this role, and I like Connery, I don't think he would have the personability that Keach has.
He would have come off even more full of himself.
I agree.
Yes, it would have been very, very like I'm the cool truck driver. Like Keach is delivering these lines, which we're going to get to. Like, he's into poetry, he's into heady stuff.
He's an aristocrat.
But he's an everyman aristocrat, right? Like, I don't think we would have gotten that from Connery.
I totally agree. He kind of sees himself as a little bit more elevated version of who he is, right?
Yes.
And Connery, that character would have come off as a little bit more of a snob. Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, with Keach, it's almost endearing, right?
Yeah.
He's sort of exasperated by these people, but he's also kind of knows who he is in a way as well, right? Yeah. He's grounded. Although this movie
we could eventually talk about what Connery did in 1981 instead of this. That was Outland. The science, basically the science fiction version of High Noon.
Yeah, it is.
I think we need to do that someday. Anyway,
I don't know that. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever actually seen that.
Huh. Good stuff. It's real good stuff.
Anyway. Now back to Roadgames.
Yes.
So 1981. This is written and directed by Richard Franklin. He made this movie pretty much right after Patrick, which put him on the map. We've talked a little bit about Patrick last week as well, because the actor who played Patrick is also in Thirst. He also has a small role in Roadgames.
Oh my god!
Which is a really fucking funny role.
Yeah,
he's great. He's great. It's great. His role is great.
His role is great. I mean, it's it's really funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Richard Franklin. This is clearly his homage to Hitchcock. In fact, this would have been like the most Hitchcock movie he would ever make if he didn't end up making Psycho 2.
Right.
It is very like Rear Window, right? Like,
yeah, very much.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like Rear Window from a truck. It's how it's generally capsulized, right?
Well, there's a fucking window on the back of his truck.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looking through his rear window a few times.
I mean, it's no mistake. That's exactly what this movie is. It was made to be, Rear Window, but from a moving vehicle, right? And Richard Franklin himself was he emulated Hitchcock like many young filmmakers of his era. To me, it's kind of interesting that Roadgames almost feels like if I didn't know who directed it and you take it out of Australia, I would have said this was a Brian De Palma film, right?
I can see that.
It shares so much DNA with De Palma and how they both, I think, approach Hitchcock, right? And it's even got a little bit of that giallo flavor to it, especially that opening scene, the kill in the hotel. Like, that is just straight up fucking Italian giallo, right? But then it kind of moves away from the giallo format, and it becomes its own thing, and it's very much a Hitchcockian thriller, this sort of cat and mouse highway road game, right? But it's unique in the sense that it, just like Rear Window, is it all of the plotting, everything, the whole story moves forward from the viewpoint of the protagonist. The antagonist is there and a little bit nebulous. You're not totally sure, who the killer is, but he's out there. And they leave just enough mystery as the movie goes along to kind of keep you guessing. So, you're really, the whole movie is driven by that point of view character, that Stacy Keach. His, what's the name of his character?
Quid.
Pat Quid.
Because Quid is out just making $1 and Hitch is out hiking. That's how I kept them straight.
Hitch is out hiking. Pamela is a Hitch, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, but there's something else going on. There's a killer out there that has been on the radio. People have been talking about, and that basically, Quid thinks he sees something that's a little off, a little mysterious about a hitchhiker that somebody else picks up in a green van. And then they get to the hotel before him, and they end up getting the last room in this hotel, and then it just doesn't really smell right to Quid the next morning.
Yeah, what really doesn't smell right is why at 5 a.m. is somebody looking out their window at the
garbage being collected, right?
Right. And also, obviously, his dingo is upset about something.
Yeah. He's got a little pet dingo. Quid does. What's
Boswell?
Boswell, yes.
Played by the dog killer. That was the name of the actual.
That's funny.
That has a really good payoff too. The dingo.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know if this was played into this at all. I mean, the dingo is obviously pretty well-known Australian animal, and I think probably mostly for its notoriety because of the there was a little kid who was essentially like attacked and killed by a dingo.
Dingo ate my baby.
The year or so before this movie came out. There's a big court case about it where the mother was accused of killing her kid, and she swears it was a dingo. It's the whole like the dingo ate my baby. What was that movie that with Meryl Streep? Came out years later. That movie came out later.
I know the line, but I don't know the movie.
But the story about the dingo would have been in the public eye in Australia for sure when this movie came out. What was the name of that movie?
Oh, A Cry in the Dark.
A Cry in the Dark, yeah.
Okay.
Dingo ate my baby.
I was going to say while we were looking that up real quick, I do wish there were more of those killer scenes because that shot with the girl playing the guitar,
it's great,
and him coming out of the steamy bathroom was like
with all the backlit.
Yeah, that is my fucking jam. I was oh my God, I am in. If I get more of this, I'm so excited. But
yeah, you don't really get more of that.
Yeah,
right. And I still maintained excitement, which is good. Like it subverted my expectation of what I thought I was going to get most of this movie. Yeah.
One more quick thing about Dingo Ate My Baby. Another pop culture reference. That was Oz's band on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Dingoes Ate My Baby.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny.
That is funny.
But anyway, when they talk about like killing dingoes in this movie, they're probably kind of treated sort of on the level of a coyote, right? They're sort of wild dogs that attack your livestock, that kind of deal, right? So it's kind of unheard of, I guess, maybe to have one as a pet. But Quid is the outsider. He's not Australian, and damn it, he's got himself a dingo as a pet, and it's a badge of honor for him.
Yes, and he paid $20 for it, and it's not supposed to be a barking dog.
Well, yeah, dingoes supposedly don't bark.
Right.
Yeah.
And also
he's an aristocrat, like him.
Let's just talk for him. Let's huddle up, Australia. What's your fucking deal with needing to like shoot dingoes on sight? And
Jason just told you why.
I know, but
I tried to give a little bit of local flavor there.
I know, but still, like you had to kill all the rabbits, you have to kill all the dingoes you see, you kill kangaroos as we saw earlier in this month, like like you're shooting fish in a barrel, and you let the spiders and snakes live. Yeah, I know. You guys are fucking weird down there, man. They'll just hang out with their hunter spiders, I know, right? Yeah, sometimes they have them in their pockets, though. Sometimes they're snakes. That's snakes. They have snakes. Those are snakes in their pockets. but they also have those trapdoor spiders. Those are scary. Ooh, terrifying. Funnel web spiders. Anyway, what's going on down there? You guys are literally upside down.
I mean, this was 40 years ago, so things have probably changed.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm sure about that.
You're suspect, Australia. You're suspect.
There goes our one listener on Australia.
But anyway, back to Richard Franklin real quick. This is clearly his Hitchcock film, and Franklin also had a friendship with Alfred Hitchcock. He I don't know the full story here, but I guess he got permission to show Rope at USC where he went to film school or something like that, and and he ended up asking permission from Hitchcock himself. Like he just happened to get him on the phone one day, like kind of wild. And they were kind of friends in the later years of Hitchcock's life, which is kind of neat. It's yeah, I don't know. You can meet your hero, right? And then you go out and you remake, not remake, but you make the sequel to his most famous movie. How does that even happen, right? That's so like fairy tale. But anyway, Roadgames. So I almost didn't include this movie this month because of the two American leads. I was like, it's really kind of the reason why I didn't include Dead Kids, aka Strange Behavior, is because that movie doesn't really have any Australian leads, and to me it doesn't feel like an Australian movie.
It doesn't take place in Australia either.
Yeah, I think it's like it's
Chicago.
trying to be someplace else, right? Yeah, exactly. It's an Australian production, but it's not an Australian film in my mind.
Right.
Whereas Roadgames absolutely fucking is. Like, this is an Australian movie, right? Australia is a character in and of itself here. And that's why I felt like it was appropriate. It's like, yes, this feels like Australia, and it feels kind of like a worthy successor 2 weeks from Wake and Fright, right? Yeah. Because it feels like you've got this character who is out of place here. And there's danger afoot, and not being able to navigate, I guess, Australia the way a native would be is kind of looked at as part of the conflict here, right? He's got to deal with the Australian authorities. There's culture differences. He's kind of a loner already, which is sort of where our character from Wake and Fright was. And he's also feels like he's a little bit above these people, which is like our character from Wake and Fright. So it just feels like a very natural successor to that film.
Well, and also these first three movies in particular, I mentioned this last week, we're kind of we're in the shoes of our lead, and like, to be honest with you, I sat there thinking, first of all, in the first scene when he's watching the guy get the hotel room and he's talking to his dingo, it's like, oh, this is just a quirky guy. But then you see him on the road and you're living with him on the road, and it's like, good God, you're desperate for conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
So it really does kind of feel like, what it would be like to be a long haul trucker, mm-hmm. and really kind of being disconnected from anything. Like, he doesn't even really use his radio.
No.
And he is so isolated that it like bleeds out of the screen into you. It's like it's like when he picked up the first lady he picks up, she's a breath of fresh air in sorts, where it's like, yeah, she is kind of annoying. She isn't the type of person you really want to be doing many miles, but damn it, if it's not entertaining as hell, what's going on in that cab?
What's kind of interesting is a juxtaposition to Wake and Fright, because the danger is immediate. Like, the main character in Wake and Fright is in the danger, right?
Right.
But the danger isn't as dangerous as you think it is.
Right.
In this movie, he's insulated.
Yeah.
But the danger is bigger than obviously Wake and Fright, right? Like,
and he kind of willfully looks for it, knowing it's dangerous.
Well, not only that, but the guy is setting him up too.
Yeah.
But you're right about that, Jeff. Like, his desperateness for conversation leads to his investigation of this of this killer, right? Like, he needs something in his life that is not just driving down a desolate road by himself.
Well, in all of his, writing a play, reading poetry, reciting famous, concepts and quotes and stuff like that, all of it builds out this character who is naturally curious.
Mm-hmm.
and he is intellectually curious.
Mm-hmm.
So now he is like, and there's a point where the conversation gets internalized, and he's saying things or he's thinking things about something that doesn't feel right. That's itching in the back of his head. And his own deep down, like, even talks in a lower kind of tone, is responding back to him. It's like, yeah, you're right to not think that this is right. And he can't convince himself. And it's like the curiosity is starting to spin out of control now.
Yeah. What is also crazy interesting to me about this movie is that he treats other people like almost like we do, right? Like social awkwardness, especially in this age where we've been home forever. What do we do when we get together? We play games, right? Yeah. You need icebreakers. And this man, he's repeating pop culture. He wants to play games. He has no real conversational skills at all. No. And it kind of like, it reminds me almost of life as it is today. Like, if we get together, we need a reason. We need something to get us to converse, right? Like, it's interesting.
Well, he's a little bit of a facade in that manner, right? Like, he seems like all the stuff that he can say, all the stuff that he can recite and that he can talk about is really only thinly hiding the fact that he is incredibly awkward. I mean, like, when he talks about the girl that the green van picked up at the beginning, it's like, oh, he's a ladies' man. He picks up all the road strange or whatever, right? No, he doesn't.
No.
And when he does pick up Jamie Lee Curtis, she sees right through it.
Yeah.
Immediately. It's like, oh, you're a fucking weirdo. It's like, but not in a necessarily negative way, like the first lady he picks up, where the moment he starts really kind of bringing into real life context what that guy could be doing and how he could be cutting up a body and it freaks the other lady out so bad that she
makes him weird. It makes him a weirdo.
Makes him a weirdo and almost makes her jump off a fucking cliff into the ocean.
All right.
She has her own problems she's running from.
And it should be noted that he didn't want to pick her up. She kind of like, she showed up. She essentially,
she toilet papered the roads.
Right. She forced him to stop and then and just got in his truck. Yeah. Right. He didn't really want to pick her up because it's company policy not to pick up hitchhikers, and he follows the company policy.
Right.
But also you're right. He's not really a very social creature. He doesn't want to pick up hitchhikers because he is awkward, right? It's not really wired in him to have those sort of conversations. He's much more comfortable with his dingo.
He can have a one-sided conversation and say, I don't want to argue with you, because he really doesn't want to argue with anybody.
Right.
And then once there's a counterpoint, he gets uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, like, even when they play the game, the I Spy game, he criticizes the lady for guessing correctly right away. So you're not playing within the spirit of the game. You're not using any logic or anything like that. He's just mad that she was able to guess exactly what he was thinking right away. And then when it's her turn, he plays the game the exact same way she does. He's just guessing random stuff, but he's frustrated because he's not guessing correctly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's it's like, so when Jamie Lee Curtis comes along, when she sees right through him, it actually kind of makes him like her more and makes him more comfortable, because she can understand. It's like, oh, this, you are a little bit of a weirdo. You're out here on the road. You have this weird dog. You and she's willing to play the most important game, which is what's the killer up to?
Right.
Or
that's
even
really
if
what he's interested in right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like,
it scared off the old lady. But Jamie Lee Curtis is very interested in that. That makes him interesting to her.
And she also doesn't have a natural hate of dingoes.
Right.
Because she doesn't understand. She doesn't probably understand the local culture of dingoes. Yeah.
Right. She doesn't know that there's going to be a Meryl Streep movie produced about dingo eating babies. It was Meryl Streep, right? It was Meryl Streep?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So, yes, Australia, very much a character in this movie. The score is very much a character in this movie. Like, Brian May scored last week's Thirst. He also scored this. And, man, it is quite a score. Like, that marching sort of anthem throughout, it kind of builds crescendos. You got the snare drums and those strings. It is just it's a propulsionary type score where it really kind of, when you need a little bit of life and energy, it's there to lift up some of the things that are happening on screen.
Yeah, you likened it to the Star Trek 6 score.
Yeah, it's very, very similar. Yeah. Absolutely, it is. Especially like some of the crescendo
and the march part. Yeah,
the march and the like every time that score in Star Trek 6 kind of crescendos to like a big action moment.
Yeah, it goes.
Yeah. That is in the score like constantly. Yeah, it's almost to the point where you want it to build like it does in Star Trek 6, but it never does. It just kind of stays right there. Yeah. And it's a little bit frustrating. Yeah.
I think this movie almost suffers a little from that, honestly. Like, I don't feel there's a crescendo in this movie, but yeah.
Well, yeah, because there really isn't one until the end, right?
Right.
I mean, it all kind of builds to that final scene, that final chase, that final scene where you're still not really 100% sure that the guy in the green van is up to no good, right?
Right.
Like, you're pretty sure, but you're still not 100% sure.
Yeah, you have that moment earlier on where Keach had picked up that lady who threw the toilet paper on the road, and he has to take a side road because of an accident, right? And he's playing the game with that lady and getting frustrated about the rules, but she sees the man on the road, right? Like, he's not even very observant,
right?
Either. She's like, "Oh, that man with the shovel back there," and he's like, pulls over, gets his binoculars out, and there's kind of a funny moment here where he's looking at the guy, and then the guy realizes he's looking at him, which, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere, if somebody stops their truck, I'm going to be immediately like curious about why they're stopping 100 feet away from me and not continue digging holes for dead bodies.
Well, he's also digging a hole for a dead body, so he's a little bit preoccupied with that.
Maybe he's not observant either. Yeah. Like, I would have noticed a truck in the middle of nowhere driving by me, probably, but he grabs his binoculars and he's looking at him, and the guy notices him and he puts the binoculars down and starts whistling. That fucking cracked me up.
I like that Stacy Keach is teaching himself how to play harmonica to Beethoven. That also cracks me up.
Yeah, that whole initial ride with him where he's alone.
Yeah.
Is like
all of his commentary. His little.
I wanted to like ask Steph's dad if he watched this movie, because he was a long haul trucker in probably the 90s, I think. Like, is this what you guys do? Like, I know he didn't play the harmonica, but yeah.
Now there's a man with balls.
There's a man with balls. And then he names the woman he eventually picks up, right?
Yeah.
I think he calls her Frida.
Yeah.
And knows her husband's an accountant, so, or at least guesses he's an accountant.
Yeah, he guesses correctly. He's got a little bit of observational skills, right? Like, enough to be dangerous, which is why he's become so consumed by the man in the green van, because he just sets off all the right alarms in his brain for being suspicious, and he's connecting the dots to the serial killer he keeps hearing about on the radio is just enough for him to be like, yeah, there's just something not right going on here.
Yes.
And it just builds and builds and builds the more that they start to intersect.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Minor annoyance in the film, and I'm guessing she just has gotten picked up a few times. But Keach has stopped, gone down different roads, like been in different directions. How does he see Jamie Lee Curtis 3 separate times? How is she in front of him?
He mentions that
ever?
a couple of times too, like just sort of like, wow, she's getting there
She's getting
quicker there than I am, or
she's
something
getting the
like
Perth quicker than I am.
Yeah.
Okay, at least I must have missed him saying that. So
He does
I guess
acknowledge it. Yeah.
Okay, then that makes it a little better for me.
He said it to Frida because she was like, "Well, aren't you going to pick her up?" He's like, "She's getting there faster than I am."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's already seen her before. Yep, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And everybody he sees on the road, he continuously sees later.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because he saw Sneezy Rider, he saw Benny Balls, he saw Captain Careful. He fucked up Captain Careful's boat.
That guy got fucking insane for no reason.
That guy deserved it. Yeah.
No, he got insane because the van did something that kicked up a rock or something and busted out his.
Yeah, the van did, not the truck.
Right. The van was tailgating the truck on the pass. Yeah. And kicked up something like a rock or something and busted that guy's windshield. Yeah.
But the guy got a new windshield real fast out there.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah. He doesn't have a boat anymore.
No,
he doesn't.
That boat is no longer seaworthy.
There's no save in that boat. Nope. It is done. That truck just obliterates it. It's pretty great.
God, when we'll get to that truck stop where the bathrooms are labeled Fred and Wilma.
Fred and Wilma.
And he's going off on the guy in the fucking stall, and then he takes his motorcycle. We'll get there.
Oh my God. We should just talk about it now because it's so good.
First of all, if you don't see him picking up like the little fan that he was using to, it looks like he's about to fight a Dracula. Because it looks like, because he's holding it down by the bottom of the frame, so it looks like a cross.
Yeah, it's like a boat.
It's a propeller. It's a fan or
motor propeller.
Yeah.
It's a motor propeller. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so
outboard motor propeller.
Yeah. And so he's like, because he thinks, the van is empty, so it must be the guy in the stall. So he's like, bitching out the guy because at this point, also the guy in the green van knows something's up.
Yeah.
He's hurt the dog. The dingo, which I think it just looked like maybe he threw a rock at him or something.
Yeah, I think he probably threw a rock at him.
Yeah, because it was just a little wound on his forehead.
A little ding on his dingo head.
A little ding on his dingo. That could mean something else too. Anyway, that was what was going on when the van pulled over and he heard people making love. It was a little ding on the dingo. Anyway. He's like, oh, it's like, you could kill a woman, I don't care, but you mess with my pet, my animal, I'm gonna fuck you up, basically.
Yeah, he's pissed, and he is gonna confront him, the guy in the green van, who I should say is played by Grant Page, by the way. Grant Page is a very famous stuntman in Australia. He's kind of the Australian Hal Needham, if you will. He plays the driver of the green van. I don't think he has one line in the movie, but that is motherfucking Grant Page. He is famous stuntman and actor from The Man from Hong Kong, Brian Trenchard Smith's Man from Hong Kong movie that I almost put in as the Brian Trenchard Smith entry, but we're gonna get to him later with Dead End Driving. Grant Page is also the stunt guy in Stunt Rock, which is another one. I was like, man, that's a good one. It almost made the list this month as well. But Grant Page, quite a character. He would be instantly recognizable to Australian audiences. Yeah. Not necessarily to American audiences. Yep.
Yeah, and so she's investigating the van, and he's yelling at the guy in the stall, but. The guy who comes out of the stall is the Sneaky Rider. It's Patrick.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, outside, there's this whole thing with Benny Ball's car alarm. That is, I mean, that thing is making me tense watching that. It's like, shut that fucking thing off. But it makes sense, right? Because you're not going to be able to hear her if something goes wrong in the van. You can't hear him yelling at the guy in the stall.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of laying cover. And when that alarm cuts off, that's when things hit the fan.
Yeah.
The guy comes out of the stall. It's not what he expects. It's the motorcycle rider. And she finds the guy in his sleeping bag in his van.
Yeah.
And he comes out of the bathroom and the van's gone. So he's like, "Hey, guy, I'm going to take your bike."
Because his truck has been disabled. So he can't immediately get in his truck, and the van is gone. So
he has the hood up. He has the hood up to look at stuff. Yeah.
So he's gotta get on the road fast. So he takes the guy's motorcycle, he gets on it, and it immediately wrecks that fucking thing. It kills me.
Knocks over the tires, the tire rack, and then he gets back to his truck. He lowers the hood. And he's like, "Don't trust me, guys. You'll find out everything tomorrow in the news." You know.
Well, he's also threatening everyone with this mad dingo.
Right.
He's got an animal that everyone's afraid of.
And the motor propeller. He's just swinging it around. Yeah.
Right. And he's like,
this dog will eat your balls.
Right.
And yes, look in the news tomorrow.
You'll understand.
You'll understand.
Right. And so, and then when he leaves, he fucking obliterates the water tower. Also,
I kept saying, "Hit that thing! Hit that thing!" Yes,
he hit that thing. But there is kind of important stuff that we've already kind of skipped up, because at this point, he's already spent the night with Jamie Lee Curtis's character, so he knows a little bit about her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he knows that she is. He thinks that she's a runaway of some sort. He underestimates her age. While also kind of keeping her at arm's length, saying basically that he's too old, or something, something to that effect. And, they've already camped out because he's got to rest. He's been pulled over by the cops, who flat out says, the girl who went missing stayed in a room, who fit her description, stayed in a room of somebody who signed into their room with your name.
Yep.
And that's when we find out about the Book of Lies, which is the truckers. By the way, this is back during a time in which tough shit if you don't sleep, buddy. Too fucking bad. They need their pork out in Perth.
But there were regulations. People just ignored them.
Yeah.
Like he was supposed to have a 12-hour layover, but he didn't. Because he was, I do want to say,
which I do think is probably something that is not the individual truck driver's fault. It's probably whoever they're trucking for.
Maybe, I mean, he did have some control over his situation because he's independent. He
is independent.
He haggled to get double pay on this delivery he's doing because he kept saying, "I'm busy."
Some time to sleep.
Yeah, but. Probably my favorite line in the movie is said when the cops pull him over. He says something about being hung, and the cop says, "Meat is hung, men are hanged." And I was like, damn, that is fucking brutal. Like, just good shit. Good writing right there. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. And, they're, I mean, he has got heat on him. Now, we don't feel it again until he gets to Perth. But he's got heat on him.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to get somebody to listen to him previously, but he's in that fucking bar that just won't shut the fuck up. and he can't get the message across to the cops that he knows something about the killing.
And this is, Frida, I think his wife calls him Sunny Day, catches a ride with the sneezy rider, right? Like
at the roadhouse, because
she shows up at the spot later when he tries to steal his bike. One thing in that scene too, that Playboy pinball machine is fucking awesome. Yeah, it's a rad pinball machine. I want to play that.
Yeah,
I'm not even like a Playboy guy, but the pinball machine looked cool as hell.
It's okay, Chuck. You can say you read the articles.
I don't even do that.
Well, but you could say that.
Okay, I read the articles all the
There
time.
There it is. But we know he really just looks like pictures. Anyway, yeah. So no, but like, so he's got heat on him, and the cops are not fucking around because just like with Mad Max, they're driving Ford Falcon turbos.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they are. I noticed that, and I was like, oh, shit, those are the Falcons.
I didn't notice, but I wouldn't notice something like that, I guess.
I mean,
Yes,
it's
and
the only
should
the only difference is the Mad Max is black instead of white. But
should mention that Grant Page, who we were talking about when Chuck took a break, was the stunt man on Mad Max, and then Brian May also did the score for Mad Max.
he also did he did stuff for Beyond Thunderdome too.
Yeah.
And probably Road Warrior. But
I think he did both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, but so like, and also he's hidden Pam away in, so that because he is confident that he's being pulled over because of her, not because of the fact that Smith or Jones, as they call him, has basically set up Quid for, as at the motel.
Yeah, I'm guessing he just took his name off his truck, like Quid.
Yeah, well, he said, it's like it's right there on the truck. He can take it,
Yeah.
And Quid even says, well, what happened to the girl? And they're like, well, we didn't say anything.
Clever killer who never says a word in this movie.
Right. And so he's, so basically, we do find out that that Pam is an heiress, and that she is suspiciously left home. That there's enough concern that has come across on the news as well later on. And that puts extra concern on Quid because he's, anyway.
Yeah, he is transporting a missing girl, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a lot more heat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of like, he is kind of trafficking her now.
Uh-huh. And then she even becomes missing to him.
Yeah.
And he knows how that's going to look. But he also is legitimately concerned. He's conflicted. He's like...
Well, he also kind of thinks that she set him up.
Right.
Right. It's all a fucking thing.
He starts having that internal struggle and dialogue about her and her connection to the man in the green van and what all of it means. Yeah. Yeah.
There is that weird, it's kind of almost too convenient when he pulls over behind them on the road,
and she looks comfortable in the passenger seat.
Well, she's not even in the passenger seat at this point. She had been driving, actually, I think. Forced to drive, maybe? He was talking to someone, I can't remember.
No, Grant Page was driving because your driver's seat's on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And she looks like she's leaning against the door like she was in the truck.
Yeah.
He was behind them. I was thinking that was a rear view mirror shot.
That's my favorite fucking shot, though. When Quid hits the horn and then the camera moves forward to Grant Page, then looking in his side view mirror. Oh, that shot is so good.
It is good. But he does when he pulls up on the empty van, right?
Yeah.
And he walks only so far in the woods and he hears the woman call out Frank. And then he turns around just early enough to miss that.
No, she calls out Harry.
Harry,
Harry, whatever.
Tom,
Frank,
Dick, or Harry.
He thinks that's her and the man in the green van, but it's the newlyweds.
It's the newlyweds that we revealed, and then he gets into the van, and if he looked like a foot behind, he would have seen where she was, but he doesn't. It's a little convenient, that scene.
Yeah.
But
he's also angry at her. He thinks that she's just laying him at this point to get a ride. He's jealous. He's a little angry. He's like, well, she'll fuck any Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Right.
And so he's off his game a little bit, and he's also kind of beating himself up over actually getting involved in any way. Because he's like, at this point also, he's like, I don't give a shit if you killed kid,
But then he gets singularly focused on tracking him down. So this
Right.
moment doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in his motive.
Well, he's got to reconvince him that there's something still afoot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He has that moment of am I just like crazy? Right. Is the guy in the green van anything? You know?
He's angry. He's angry too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, because like this kind of goes back to that opening scene where he plays off the whole fact that the hot chick that he didn't pick up is shacking up with the guy in the van. He's like, well, I hope she steals his wallet. So it's how he basically.
Then she checks. Do I still have my wallet? Okay, good.
Right.
Yeah, at least you didn't take my wallet.
Right. It's like that's kind of like his, you know, like how in the old days people like would hit on a woman at a bar and she'd say no, and he's like, oh, she's a lesbian. You know, just to kind of deflect the anger or the frustration or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing here to her. Now he doesn't really believe it because he actually likes her, but he actually knows something is wrong. But he can't reconcile all of these things all at once. He can't focus on any one thing long enough. And that's actually probably part of his character anyway. That's why he wants to play harmonica. He wants to write a play. He wants to read poetry. He can't focus on one thing at a time.
Right. He also doesn't want to be known as a truck driver.
Right.
Right.
Totally obvious that he says it twice and thinks it a third time, like just because I drive a truck doesn't mean I'm a truck driver.
Right.
Boswell, however, knows something's wrong in the back of the van or the back of the truck. I'm a little confused as to what's going on there.
Well, it's revealed. Yeah, it's at the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing is revealed, but there's also 2 extra carcasses, and we don't know if they're what they are exactly, like, but whatever. He goes in there.
Yeah, what ends up happening is that there are 2 extra slabs that he wasn't expecting, but that is not why he's overweight. He's actually on weight, except for what we find at the end.
Yeah.
Well, how overweight is he? 2 kilos?
75 kilos.
I don't know how much that is because I'm American.
I would suspect that it's kilograms.
No, I know, but I don't know how much that would be.
That's probably about the right size for a female torso, I would guess.
Okay. So he has more than just yeah. Okay.
Or the head.
I think a head weighs more than 75.
So 75 kilograms is 165 pounds.
So that would be like a human body. Yeah.
Yes.
Not just a head.
Yeah.
So that's what he's expecting to find. But instead, he just finds out, wait, they gave me too much pork. So
that's what he's thinking. He doesn't know for sure. Yeah.
He doesn't know for sure because he ends up counting 52
when there should have been
50. Yeah. Which that would make sense too. I mean, two slabs would probably be about the same weight too.
Yeah, maybe. I'll be honest. Here, up until this point, I was all in on this movie. It semi falls apart for me.
Semi.
All 16 wheels go off the track. It does kind of finish kind of wonky, but we can talk about it. Like,
we'll talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Well, let's move along then. Let's move.
Go ahead, Jeff. I'll interject.
No, go. You, Jason. That's you. You're driving here.
Well, I want to know what is wonky about it for Chuck. It's like I kind of agree. It sort of starts to just kind of wrap itself up, but
So he's had this conversation with himself, like whatever, and then he sees Perth, right? And it's all downhill from here, which cracked me up for another reason, but we won't go into it here. Himself, it's all downhill from here, and he's driving to Perth, and the cops are obviously tracking him, right? But he's told them about the green van. The green van is at the way station. He's conveniently let off by a guy he knows, which is fine. I'm glad it didn't turn into a thing. Like the guy's like, hey, you're almost 165 pounds overweight, and this dog smells marijuana, which makes no sense to the story, right? But he's like, I'll let you go anyway.
Right.
Actually, you should come in for coffee and blah, blah, blah. But the cops who had heard about the green van from the guy in the truck, which is conveniently pulled over right in front of the truck, pushes them to a gas station. I'm like, come on.
Well, the truck, the van is running out of gas.
I know. And the cops had heard, these two specific cops were told by the guy in the truck that you should be looking for a man in a green van.
Yeah, but they don't hear that. They know what they don't though. That's like they have their suspect. Anything that's said about a green van is like totally lost on them.
I guess
it's the classic.
We got
trope.
the guy. We're gonna clean our hands of this.
I mean, that's in like every movie like this. There's always like the
I guess
the killer. You know, when they think they got their guy, they're blind to everything else, right?
I mean, if they really
no
thought
way in the world that has ever happened.
No, ever. But no, but they don't. They think they got their guy, but they don't have proof. That's why they're watching them. They're not watching anybody else. They're not going to listen to what this foreigner, suspect has to say about a man in a green van, right? They don't care.
I guess. All right, it annoyed me. Either way.
Fair.
Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, keep going.
Well, really, it just kind of gets down to the end, right? He's chasing the guy in the green van. He's chasing the green van through the city of Perth into an alleyway. This is kind of where our big like climax happens, right? So you've got the truck can't fit through the alleyway. The van is the geography is a little wonky here because it's like is the van stuck too? Doesn't seem like it.
Like, why does he stop? Why does the killer stop? He just got gas. He could have gotten away.
Right. That's where I think it's a little wonky because
that's another part.
It's the truck that's stuck, not the van.
Yeah.
And it's clear this isn't a dead end because of the end shot, right?
Right.
Because all the people come, which is really kind of goofy too.
Yeah, they come out of nowhere.
Like, whoa, this is like all of a sudden like a busy intersection.
I was like, oh my God, tomorrow's bacon is in that truck. Get it. Save it.
All of Perth might have been waiting for the meat.
All of Perth, and also the two people who are sure he's the killer, right, are there as well.
Yes.
The old lady hitchhiker and Patrick motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
Which is pretty silly. But yeah, essentially what happens is the truck ends up on top of the van through a series of hijinks.
Through
a series of hijinks.
There is a garrote wire wrapped up in the truck's
which causes it to jump 10 feet in the air for sure. Yeah.
Right. Well, the cops. Yeah.
It's actually what it is that causes the truck to jolt forward is it's stuck at the top.
Yes.
And he's like got it basically floored, right? So when it does eventually like break free of its restraint at the top, it's gonna lurch forward pretty fast.
And it's also unlatched from the trailer.
Yes.
Does the cop do that?
The cop does that.
Okay.
Yeah. The cop is underneath, and the cop car is stuck up underneath the trailer.
It's Keystone Cops here.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
And the truck and the cop car is trying to go in reverse to get itself unstuck, and then when it gets unstuck, it then goes backward really quickly because of the same sort of inertia, right?
Right.
So you have the truck that goes like lurches forward, the cop car lurches backward, and the trailer is stuck in the middle. Yeah.
But they were able to save the meat. We found out
they were. Perth got their.
Yeah.
Beef.
So I mean, we didn't really talk about like what causes a lot of Quid's consternation around what's in his trailer, because the dog gets concerned about a rhythmic pounding sound.
Yeah.
And so he goes into the trailer expecting to find Pam's body, I think, is what he's really expecting to find.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. Yeah.
But what he's hearing is that the meat is swaying and hitting the front. But that's when he starts counting and he realizes he has too much.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think the dog is concerned because he knows there's a human body part in there, because
Well, probably. Yeah.
he was very concerned about the bags that were on the side of the road early in the movie. So
Sure. He's got the scent already of what that would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, absolutely. But he can't, I mean, he hears the pounding of one of the carcasses swinging against the front of the trailer.
Yep.
And that satisfies him, except for, wait a minute, there's the numbers off here.
Right.
But he's generally satisfied.
So the police basically, all right. So the truck, the cab of the truck ends up on top of the van.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy Keach and Grant Page end up duking it out on the street. Stacy Keach gets the upper hand and takes the guitar string wire away from Grant Page and starts choking him with it in the middle of the street, and then everybody shows up. Literally everybody.
Yes.
If you were in this movie, you show up right now.
It's like the end of Cannonball Run.
Yeah, kind of is.
It's the Wizard of Ozploitation.
And the old lady hitchhiker's pointing her finger like, that's the guy who almost pushed me off a cliff. And the motorcycle guy is like, that's the guy who threatened me in the restroom. And the cops are like, this is the guy who we think is the killer. And they restrain him. But then they get Jamie Lee Curtis out of the van. She is still alive. She has been in the sleeping bag with her mouth taped. And she sets it all straight. She's like, no. This guy's not the killer. That guy is. Meanwhile, Grant Page is looking all like sheepish and still not saying any words. And then they arrest the right guy.
Where's
Almost
the bodies? They ask. Well, fucker, it's the whole continent behind us.
Yeah, exactly. Pick a hole.
Pick a hole and go find it.
The ending of this movie is pretty stupid.
It's pretty like conveniently wrapped up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I like
comedic.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of comedic.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And then it it cuts to Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis walking down the street, and Keach says, "You pay $100 for a dingo, you expect to get a dingo."
Yeah.
Because the dog barks, and that's how they know that Jamie Lee Curtis is still in the van, because the dog is barking, and Stacy Keach is like, "It barks."
Yeah. Because he totally would have been like that in that situation where he's being arrested.
Yeah.
It's a goofy ending. Like, I really like a lot of this movie. I thought the road stuff was really good, but it falls apart a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair. But yeah, that's Roadgames.
Well, there is something in the truck though, as our nice little.
Yes, our last kind of stinger at the end. Yeah.
It's a female head,
right? So they, there's a whole kind of funny edit where they, because they, it shows the butcher butchering he's butchering the thing, the pork.
butchering the thing.
And there's a lady cleaning out the trailer that he brought, and she starts to get tickled by a guitar string, and she pulls on that, and the decapitated head of somebody lands in the mop bucket.
Yep.
The end.
I don't know. Fun little movie. I feel bad kind of tearing the end apart, but it does. Like, for a movie that's kind of moving at like a highway speed to then go to race speed in like 5 minutes was like, I wish they would have wrapped this up nicer, but it's still good. It's fun.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, kind of, if you want a more high octane version of this movie, probably The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer would fit the bill, right?
Yeah. That has the appropriate speed, like the whole movie, right?
Yeah.
Like it's going at that pace the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, fun little movie. Next week we have my favorite of the month. It is the movie Starstruck.
Starstruck.
And it's a musical, guys. It's a musical. It's been a while since we've done a musical.
I've got one on the table that you guys didn't say no to, so.
Oh, yeah?
But that will be in the future either way. So
Right.
This is our next.
Mm-hmm.
This is our next one. And it is a lot of fun. I think it's
We'll be the judge
I think
of
it's
that.
1982. And it's Gillian Armstrong, who was quite a significant voice in the Australian New Wave as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait to tell you what my favorite is until I've seen all of them. Unlike Jeff,
I know,
who
right? He
says
hasn't
that
seen the
before
last two.
seen
He's already
them all.
declared a favorite. Good
You
Lord.
just declared your favorite, too.
I've seen them all.
Uh,
Oh, that's a pesky little detail.
I like that. That's funny. I'm looking forward to. I like musicals when they're done well. I assume since you like it that it's probably done well.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that.
It is done well. Quite fun. So yeah, thanks guys for joining me on this road game through Australia.
yeah. So that,
Jeff,
yeah,
why don't you tell us about some stuff?
yeah. So go over to filmseizure.com. That's where you'll find all of our stuff, all the places that you can subscribe to and listen to us on various podcast sites or YouTube or whatever. Also, where you can subscribe to our social medias, our suck meads.
Yeah, where we get all verbose all the time about things. Because we're very talkative on the sock.
Well, I mean, that pesky detail there.
I mean, interact with us. We'd be happy to talk, right? Interact with us. We'll talk.
Okay.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that's filmseizure.com. Yeah. So Starstruck is coming Wednesday morning, the 22nd of March. On Monday is New Monster Mondays, and that is Spook Warfare, the second chapter of the Yokai Monsters trilogy.
Finally getting to that one.
Finally get to that one. Get into some Spook Warfare. I wish there was a real thing called Spook Warfare where monsters got together and fought.
I would have thought it was ghosts.
Well, I mean, these yokai monsters are technically like spirits, you know. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Fair.
So anyway, that is going to be on Monday afternoon, the March the 20th. So listen to that as well. All the same places. Just go to filmseizure.com. It's all there. This weekend is a pretty good weekend for B-Movie Enema, if I do say so myself. On bmovieenema.com, you can read my review of Escape from Women's Prison.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's kind of this whole month that films to B-Movie Enema is kind of a best of the types of genres that I cover. This time we're just getting around to women in prison flicks. And then this weekend is the latest episode of B-Movie Enema, the series Blonde Ice. It is a noir film. And if I do say so myself, I think maybe the best episode I've ever done.
Wow.
It's the most interesting, at least.
Interesting.
So that is over at bmovieenema.com. I appreciate it if you accepted this invite to check that out. Anyway, so until next time when we are all struck by stars, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and Dingo ate my baby.